Welcome,
Okay, the live stream's up and running.
welcome, Dave. Good to see you.
Hello.
Hello, Jim. Good. Glad you're on. We're just waiting for Tom Quinn. We won't wait, but we have a quorum, so
Here.
I see Jim Zahn's great. But no Tom. Oh, Tom, we have a quorum. Everybody's here. Thank you. Well, this is great. It's 4:45 and I will call this Community Resources and Tourism meeting for Monday, November 9th to order. You have all got the agenda. But first, before we do this, I want to reach out and say to Michelle, thank you for taking the minutes at this meeting. Julie Wathke, as ordinarily does it, our county clerk, is extremely busy right now, as you well can imagine. And I want to reach out to Krista for Vind for setting this up so I could stay at home today to conduct this meeting. Looks like most of you are at home too. Stacy's someplace out in wherever, down in South Dakota, whatever. Okay. So all of the board members are here and we will be hearing from the other people that are on here at a meeting shortly. Especially, I'm always happy to see that our county board chair, Dave Bartlett, is with us. So thank you, Dave, for also attending our meetings regularly. Much appreciated. We did not have a meeting, as you remember, last month in October. We didn't have any urgent business, so I canceled it. But if you go back and read the minutes from our meeting, which was in September 14th, if you've had a chance to read those minutes, I hope you have. I would ask for a motion to approve.
So moved, Jim.
Moved by Tom, seconded by Larry. Are there any questions or additions or any things that anybody wonders about in those minutes? If not, all say approve, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The September 14th minutes are approved. We're going to go right into our extension reports from all of our Dunn County extension specialists. And then after they report, then we'll hear from our area extension director. So Louisa, our 4-H, we got a lot of news there. All of us got the newsletter that was sent out and pretty exciting stuff. So Louisa, we'd like to hear from you right now. Dunn County.
Okay, thank you very much. I have had a very exciting couple months. We have some pretty cool things to report in 4-H in our area. In the newsletter, I think I kind of outlined what's going on with 4-H in a box, but I just want you to know we've been doing that every Thursday. And then we do our celebration. So we've been doing it for 6 weeks and we have not lost people. We had over 100 little squirrely faces on the last one that we did, even though, you know, I think it's really hard for families to face another Zoom screen time when they're doing a lot of that for work and for school. So we have had just a fantastic time. And I would love sometime when we don't have a busy agenda to share some of the pictures with you, and we will try and squeak those into future reports so that you get to see the really happy smiley faces. My first effort was a windsock, which turned out really great. And we got to enjoy watching when we sent them outside to try their windsocks, to see little kids running around in their backyard. You know, that is what we intend for having fun with our kids, is to let them get outside and do fun, run around kind of thing. So that really filled my heart a little bit after so many months of not getting in front of youth. It's a strange time to be stuck in your spare bedroom and not seeing your families. For 4-H, that's a very difficult thing for all of us in 4-H. Good news to report, there was a club that was about to fail because it did not have a leader and it had gotten too small. And we were able to bring in a bunch of new families and a new, very young leader who is a graduate of Dunn County's 4-H program herself and has been leadership team. Her name is Laura Jones Holm. She's studying to become a lawyer, and she just took the reins and ran with it. So we have somewhere between 6 and 12 families, which is a lot more than they had on the way out. So that'll be our new ideal club. We also have been making some changes here and there as we're going through charters. We're really evaluating what it is to be a club in a time when you can't meet together personally. So we've been doing some virtual programming and some very limited in-person programming. Catherine has been working very closely with us to make sure that we can get approval on very carefully defined ways for people to get together. And we even have a club leader next weekend doing a drive-in award ceremony. So she wants to be able to give out the awards. They normally have a big party for this. Given the COVID levels, the people will into a park and she will have a PA system and she plans to basically do the speeches herself and there will be no contact. The words will be handed through the windows into the cars and families will stay together. So there's a lot of creative stuff going on. I won't lie to you, it hasn't been 100% easy or 100% not bumpy. We've had people complain that we shouldn't get together at all. And we've had lots of people complain that everybody's being too hard on them and they want to do 4-H in the manner that they're used to, which is coming together as families. But I think we're navigating that pretty well. The other area that I'm pretty excited about is we received a grant for Wisconsin Youth Forward, which I'm on the executive committee for that. And we will be starting all across the state of Wisconsin, all through extension from a bunch of different institutes. Colleagues will be working on helping start child savings accounts, especially for lower income families or families who have never attended college. And I will be working on some asks in our community to support that monetarily. And we'll be making some new partnerships between 4-H and schools and churches and organizations. There's a lot of research that shows having between $5 and $50 in an account actually changes how people think of themselves. And once you think of yourself as college bound, it changes the classes that you take, it changes your behavior in school, it changes how much homework you do. So we think this is low hanging fruit and something that I hope to involve some of our 4-H clubs in helping get the word out about. Also serving on several state teams and have volunteered to teach some workshops at the state level that everybody in 4-H can take advantage of. So I taught a workshop called Taming the Voices in Your Head, which is very applicable to right now when we have a lot of stress and anxiety. And that went over really well in the summer. So I just taught it again twice last weekend at our first ever virtual fall forum. And we had almost 500 people signed up for Fall Forum, which is kind of a miracle. That's more than we usually have in person. And that went really beautifully. And I would like to just stop for a second and see if anybody has any questions and then turn it over to whichever colleague comes next.
Well, Louisa, I have a comment. Thank you. Great report. On your very first paragraph in your letter, of course, you wrote something that really caught my attention immediately when you said, due to COVID-19 and lack of broadband, many of our clubs have not been meeting at all. Well, I hope that if we continue to expand this, that someday we won't have to say that anymore. Thank you for.
Yeah, thank you.
So anybody else, or we'll move on to Sandy. Thank you, Louisa, very much.
Thank you for this opportunity and thank you for the support. We really appreciate it. Our 4-H families are strong and resilient, and we're trying to get creative on how to do 4-H in this new world that we're living in. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sandy Tarter, who is our FoodWise coordinator. Good to see you, Sandy, and we'd like to hear from you.
Good to see you all. Thanks for the opportunity. And in October starts our fiscal year 21. And so normally we're busy as all get out, getting into our schools. And so this year we are reaching out to all of our partners to let them know that we are here to support them in whatever way they would like us to support them. And so it's reaching to teachers to see if would they like us to come in virtually into their classrooms? Do they not? So every school in our area has a different platform with which they use, and teachers, some say yes, some say no. So we're getting to figure out who's doing what where, and if they could have us come in virtually. For example, the River Heights, the first grade teachers just responded and said, no, I'm sorry, we just are too overwhelmed, like we're not going to do any food wise virtual education. So so it's just helping support the teachers with what they need. And so we've done some virtual education in the schools now. For example, like with this first grade, we're putting together some indirect nutrition education video packages. And so part of what we've been working on over the last few months, I've been on a video review team and a video creation team. So the video review team, we looked at videos from all over the US. What is something that is already done that we could use in our packages to send to people on nutrition, food safety, food prep? And so we put together a library of videos. So in these indirects, we're going to record the educators with an intro. Nancy Fastener just did one this week. So, this would be like, hi, I'm sorry I can't be in your classroom, but today, we're going to talk about my plate and I'm going to show you some videos. So this would be a recording, and then the youth would be able to watch videos, and then Nancy would come back as an outro and say, this is what we went over today. Maybe you could try something at home. So these videos would be in a package that we could send to teachers who could then send to their families, for when they're not in school and they have their at-home virtual days. So some teachers are really liking that option. So we're working on that. And then let's see, for Strong Bodies, you've seen in the report that we're doing a virtual 2 days a week. We're in the middle of a series right now. We have over 250, I think I said there, that are signed up, and we have about 125 each day, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Myself and our area 6 FoodWise educators, we lead this statewide. We really tried to outreach to Dunn County participants, and so we talked to ADRC, we talked to the pantry, we marketed at the senior centers, and we even sent flyers home on Meals on Wheels, trying to get Dunn County people interested. And we're reaching about 37 to 40 now. And we did have some come in, and I loaned them some weights if they needed it. So we want to make this really accessible. Of course, it's free, and if we can give them the weights, that's awesome. So we are in the middle of that, and I didn't put any of the responses on my letter, but I just want to share with you a couple of the feedback that we've gotten. And one participant said, I'm sharing a story of my strengthening thanks to you all. Last weekend, I said I saw my grandson, who is 35 to 40 pounds. I could not lift him before. And after this series now, I was able to pick him up with no problem. And Strong Bodies is hopefully restoring my bone mass as well. And another person said, I think I'm feeling a difference in my strength and balance already. I've not met you ladies, but I feel like I'm working out with friends. Working with the group motivates me to push on. My balance is getting better. So right now, I'm working to set up our next series. We've had such good positive feedback that people, of course, the winter is going to be long. People are home. We've had people say that you've got to continue this. So I'm setting up January through March right now. So that will continue. And thanks to Stephanie and Mark and Jeannie, they came in, they were guest speakers at our Strong Bodies. And Margaret was as well. So each week we have a nutrition chat after our exercises, and then we also invite in speakers. So Stephanie came in, spoke about mindfulness. Margaret came in to speak about gardening and so forth. So the people are really loving this extra information that we're getting to them. We have set up with WIC, both Dunn County and Chippewa County together, to do virtual trainings and lessons for our families. So that is ongoing every month. We offer 2 now from here on out. And also I'm talking to Workforce Resource so that we can combine counties. And we know that the numbers of food share are up, and we know that some of the, the requirements that Workforce Resource for for a certain segment of people, in order to get their benefits, they needed training, employment training, food share, FSET, food share employment training. And so it was required that they attend some employee skills to review their resumes, some kind of training. And we would always offer classes as part of life skills and stretching food dollars. And so we've heard now that because of those receiving energy assistance may need to still have those requirements that they must attend so many hours of training. We're going to start to offer those again and combine Dunn and Chippewa counties for that as well. And then I am on the Health Done Right Coalition, the work group, the Chronic Disease Prevention Action Group. And I worked with Robin Thibodeau to put together a proposal for some of the funding that Health Done Right was awarded from Community Foundation. And so my proposal is that we start a market match program with our EBT at the farmers market, so that the EBT, where food share users can use their Quest card to purchase fresh fruit and vegetables, has been ongoing for a couple, I would say 3 years. And so now I'm hoping to put a market match program with that, so that for every dollar they spend up to, we'll just determines if we get the money, $5 or $10, it would be matched. So they would get, you know, $10 or $20 worth of tokens to buy produce. So I'm hopeful that we'll get funding for that, although it hasn't been awarded yet, so I can't say for sure. But anyways, I think that's it. Questions from anyone?
Wow, Sandy, wow, great job. I'm sure it helped a lot that we get your newsletter ahead of time, that we can read that. And this way I'm trying to underline and keep up as you report this. So Sandy, thank you. If somebody has questions they think of later, we'll come back to those. So moving right ahead then, we haven't heard from Stephanie for a while, so it's good to have Stephanie Hintz on. Stephanie, remember, is our human development and relations educator and worked great with us and many other things way back when I remember doing the broadband and everything. And Stephanie, you seem to be able to do it all.
Oh, thank you.
Stephanie.
I am so happy to be here, and I am so happy to see everyone's faces and seeing that you are healthy, and it looks like for most of you are in your homes. That's wonderful. My work the last couple of months has been all about responding to our normal problems, right, in life, but then in the context of the amplified, like, COVID-19 environment. And so I've really been emphasizing on parenting. So parenting during times of COVID-19, it is an additional layer of stress. There are families that were already high needs that are just being inundated by all sorts of issues that are related to our current circumstances right now. And so coming up with different ways to help them and meet the needs directly for them. I've been running our Parents Forever class. We do that once a month. That is our mandatory co-parenting class for parents who are getting divorced in Dunn County. People have an option to do a self-paced online class, and now that we have been doing stuff on Zoom, I facilitate a class together once a month, and I think it's very hopeful to see parents get together, even though they're in this very high stress situation just in general within their own lives, and then amplified by what's going on in our society, and for them to still go through the class and be open to learning, be open to growing, be open to doing everything that they need to do to make sure that their kids' best interests are in mind. So that's been really wonderful to see, and I think I see great resilience in the people of Dunn County. So I am just really happy to report that. And then a lot of my programming is around amplifying our resilience. And one of the ways that I professionally like to incorporate that into my work is through mindfulness. And we do a couple of programs that is research based. So we have Taking Care of You. I've done that a few times in our community. I've done it in our jails, and I've hosted it online. I use the components of Taking Care of You and I put it in different online settings, either if it's on our Facebook or if it's email or videos, different things like that. I'm hoping to do a micro mindfulness series where I could take all of these different components of what mindfulness is and then put it into like little micro chunks and then have it in multiple learning styles. So I'll probably do a video, I'll probably have the audio clip, and then I'll probably have like little sheets. It could be maybe like a post or it could maybe be a handout sheet. I'm not exactly sure how I want to implement that, but I want to make sure that like no matter what your reading level is, no matter how you learn, that you have access to these different things. And then I've been told by numerous people that they appreciate learning mindfulness from me because I tend to not be like a monotone person who is typically teaching mindfulness. So I love to be able to bridge that gap for people to get into the mindfulness world, as well as what else is on my plate. I wrote down some things I wanted to talk to you guys about. Oh, and Health Done Right. We are chugging along. We're picking back up during the height, or not the height, because I guess right now is the height. But during the start of the pandemic, Health Done Right is housed from public health, right? And so public health department immediately swamped. So we all checked in with everyone in the coalition and we paused the coalition for a little bit. We had a COVID-19 action team that met twice, sometimes 3 times a month during that time. And over the last couple of months, we've had the Health Coalition pick back up, and I'm so happy to see that start chugging along. And I'm wondering, could I share my screen? Okay, cool. So I just want to share, we have officially, well, semi-officially finished. That's not the best word. We have a really great start of our website right now. We're not like advertising it technically, but we are, oh, it's loading. It's not showing you, is it? I just see a screen. Well, I'll just tell you in the meantime while it's loading. So we have been trying to come up with a centralized resource hub. So in Dunn County, and this is true for counties all over the nation and probably all over the world, that there's a lot of different ways that you can find your resources, and there's a lot of different places. And people, when they're looking for resources, they tend to have to kind of like scavenge around to find what the best ones are or what works for them or how to get there, all these different things and barriers that come up. And so we are hoping to be a centralized resource hub for all of these different resources. So we're already working with people who develop some type of resource guide. And hopefully, oh, can you see the screen now? No. Oh,
No, not yet.
dang it.
Stephanie, would it help if one of us shared it?
Maybe.
Try stopping the share and then opening it again after it's loaded.
Oh, that's a good call. Well, I'm sorry. I'm frozen on my end, and you guys are frozen. So if you can,
If you stop sharing,
each other.
I can share it from my end.
I am trying to stop her share.
Okay.
And there is some sort of glitch because it's not even letting me stop the share. Stephanie, would you want to leave the meeting and come back in, if possible? Looks like we lost her too.
Yeah, Krista, I think if you wanted to quote unquote boot her out, even I'm sure she understands. She'll come right back, and I'll send her a text message too.
Oh, she's coming back in now.
Oh, okay, great. We're used to bumps in the road. We're all getting good to bumps in the road.
Oh, yes. There she is. Stephanie, are you there?
I'm back in here. I got booted out for a little bit, but I'm right back. We don't have to look at the website here. I'll send a link and you guys can search on it yourself, but essentially we're working with a web developer to make the resources within our website searchable. Kind of like a mini, like a Google search, but just for your local Dunn County resources. And the developer has done this for his county. And the interesting thing that he did is that he sets it up so people can look up all the different kinds of resources that might work for them. And then they can bookmark it and print it out in a nice little sheet. And so if they're working with a provider, any type of provider, that person will likely be the one printing that. Or if they're at the library, they can have it, as well as it being bookmarked on your phone. So trying to make it as accessible as possible. So I'm done. Sorry for taking up time and that my internet was slow.
Oh, Stephanie, I love your enthusiasm and everything you've done. You're just, I can see why the people pick up on this. And you know, your first comment was interesting too. I think with parenting skills, you know, how important that is, everything is, but parenting skills nowadays, if we had better parents, maybe we would have less, I'm saying some of the juvenile problems is the parents' problem. Thank you, Stephanie, just a comment of mine. Anybody else of these three educators and coordinators from Dunn County before we call on Catherine? Anybody have a question of any one of the three? Thank you for the good report. Oh, Tom, I'll call on Tom.
Just quickly, Stephanie mentioned that the Parents Forever classes are mandatory. I didn't know about that program. Can you talk just a bit about what that involves?
Yeah, so it for our county, Wisconsin counties all across our state can either not make it mandatory or pick any program that they would like. So in our county, we chose Parents Forever, which is a research-based curriculum. And we wanted to make it as accommodating for parents as possible, right? Essentially, we just want them to get this information because we know parents who go through similar classes have youth that have better resiliency outcomes, right? So they do better during the divorce when parents go through this type of program. And so here in Dunn County, they have two options. They can do an 8 hours online self-paced class. And that's through the University of Minnesota. They are the ones who created the Parents Forever curriculum. Or they can do a class facilitated by me, and that's about 4 hours. Typically it's in person. Recently it's been over Zoom. But I really like the 4-hour one because it helps parents, I think, humanize their situation. Sometimes parents have it in their heads that they're the only ones going through these really like uncomfortable, heavy things. And then when they're in a room with 8 other people who are going through the same thing, I can tell because they tell me directly, but then also just feeling they have like a weight lifted, like they're not going through this alone, right? And then they can connect with each other and share similar stories, which is just very humanizing, as well as all the wonderful information that's provided in the course. I've had people tell me that, like, even if it wasn't mandatory, they would still want to pay for it because it was like that great. I've had people tell me that they wish that they had to take that class before they had kids. So it's a really great program. And so far, every single person that has taken that class said that they found something valuable to their life. And the one person that said that they didn't, at the very end of his evaluation, he said, but the instructor was nice. So I was like, well, okay.
Tom, thank you for a great question, and Stephanie for following up. And, you know, asking that question, it made me realize that here we hear from our extension specialists and we get a chance to update it. I wish that all of our county supervisors were aware of these great programs that we've been hearing about right now. So it'll be our job to help pass the word, and hopefully sometime when this opens up, Chairman Bartlett, when we can have our extension people back at a meeting when we can have a good report for what's going on in extension. Obviously, we weren't able to do that this year, but so we're doing the best we can. Thank you again, Stephanie. Very, very exciting. I'm going to move on. Catherine Emanuel, now she's going to update us a little bit on, as you all know, she's our Area Extension Director for Eau Claire, Chippewa, and Dunn County. And so Catherine, it's always glad to have you with us. So we'll call on you now.
Thank you, and good afternoon to you. Good to see you all, and thank you to our educators and to Michelle, our educators that you see here and our educators who are not on camera. You have a very dedicated team in Dunn County, as you do and across the state. But particularly when I think about Dunn County, you have a group of people who are sincerely passionate about serving the residents in Dunn County, care deeply about those with maybe the least amongst us, and ways that we can be really inclusive and thoughtful with programming, but also that we bring really the best type of programming, not just any programming, but the best type that's backed with best practices or evidence. So really you got a great group of, you got a great crew here. You didn't need me to tell you that. I know you know that already, but good to acknowledge that. We are just wrapping up the end of the year. Our educators truly primarily and support staff continue to work from remotely. So we are still working our full-time workloads, but most of the time we are at home. We do have a rotating opportunity to come into the office as needed. That's following not only our state policy, but the Dunn County health protocols, so that we're adhering with the county and also taking the health risks very seriously. As you may have heard, and I put this in our monthly update, UW-Madison has announced that they will do more furloughs next year. So we would anticipate somewhere between 3 and 5 days off. That's for our state employees only. And the amount of days off will depend on the person's salary range. So trying to really kind of scale it accordingly. We don't know, if there will be more, if this is it, but what I can tell you is that in my leadership conversations I'm a part of, and Sandy attends the supervisor meetings, to our statewide conversations with all employees, the message is very much, how do we support our existing workforce? How do we mitigate any of the unknown financial risks by supporting our existing workforce? So just know we are as committed as we can be to maintaining a local presence and working with you as a partner, even through some of our financial unknowns. Let's see. One of the things that's going to happen with our statewide kind of working from home is we typically have an all-colleague conference or all-program conference. It's really a nice opportunity for us to come together, since we work across 72 counties once a year, to see each other. That will be virtual. And so kind of a creative idea that's happening, instead of having really all 2 days long, which is normally what we would have in person, we're breaking it up to 3 multi-hour sections over 3 weeks. So we'll still see each other, we'll still have programming, just making it look a little bit different. And you've already heard our educators adapting, innovating, like Sandy gave a great example of kind of the intros and outros of the video. So not creating the whole thing from scratch, trying to use good resources when we can, and then spend our energy on some creation from scratch. So I know Katie Wantock is creating podcasts and videos, and Michelle has been working very close with her to help edit those, working with our state IT resources to really fine tune, hone that, so that that content is available for residents here in Dunn County and to people across the state. Vice versa, there may be content that Katie is not making, but is available to farmers here in Dunn County and families, not just farmers, but families who are related to the ag field. So that's really helpful. Couple other things, as you know, we have our hiring freeze with the state. So at this point, I'm going to be meeting with our Community Development Institute Director tomorrow. He's new. His name is Benoit Jacobs, and I'll be speaking with him about the possibilities we have in Dunn County, Chippewa, and Eau Claire, really looking at the needs that we have and to start talking about potential timing for filling that position. So making sure that he and I are on the same page, which I know that we are as far as that support, and then asking for basically a hiring thaw, an opposite of a freeze, so a hiring thaw. And, you know, if we are granted that, I will certainly let you know one way or the other at our next meeting. And hopefully we'll have kind of a start date. At least we'll know whether that's March or June. You know, I'm not sure what that will shake out to be, but that's position is very much on my mind. I know it's on many of your minds, and we want to get that filled as soon as we can. Also operating with the fiscal constraints that the state is experiencing. And last and not least, you'll notice that in your packet, Michelle is attaching a monthly finance report.
Right.
County Board Manager Miller has asked us as directors and department heads to make sure we're putting a monthly snapshot of our finances in with you all. Dunn County in the last several years, I think as long as I've been here, has been able to stay within budget. So I don't have any concerns about going over, but I do think it's a value for you all to see kind of where we're at. You know, there's the brass tacks of, are you under the bottom line? Are you finishing the year in the black, which is, you know, always the goal. And then making sure that the department has the resources that they need. You can see this year, there's some categories that are significantly going to be under budget. And a large part of that is COVID, of course. So not extensive traveling. I'd say the folks in our office who probably have the most mileage would be 4-H and ag, of really working directly with families, working directly on the farms. We don't see that very often for most of this year. Also with professional development, that type of spending is under. There are some funds such as grants or awards. I'll give an example that your ag educator, Katie, has received, and donations in the community that can be carried forward through our budgetary process for next year. So even though she wasn't able to bring people together in person to celebrate and support farmers and their families this year, those funds will be available for hopefully some type of meaningful educational and supportive event next year. So with that, I'd welcome any questions, and Michelle's here too, and she's willing to help answer any questions. She's our day-to-day operations whiz, so she's got a good command of our fiscal snapshot as well, if you have questions for her.
Well, Catherine, yes, thank you. I was going to ask Michelle if she wanted to have some comments, because she also writes in here as our support specialist. So thank you, Catherine. Michelle, again, thank you. Do you have any comments you'd like to update us with?
I'll just do a couple quick little comments. I mean, my work has definitely been a lot of the same and a lot of not the same since COVID started. So really, I mean, my focus is supporting the educators, however they need support. And as their programming changes, then what I need to do changes. So like Catherine touched on, you know, I've learned how to video edit and podcast edit and closed caption videos and all sorts of things that we didn't know we needed before COVID. So that's definitely out there, but we're still doing the normal day-to-day work, sending out newsletters and postcards and doing data entry when it's needed. But it's definitely the same work in a different way. So, yeah.
You know, to all of you, Louisa, Sandy, Stephanie, and you, Michelle, you know, I would often, as many of us would be able to stop in the office and talk to you face to face. And, keep that contact and what's going on. And I miss that a great deal. You've done an excellent job, and Catherine for updating us always and staying in touch. I'm very proud of all of you. I think these reports are great. We will continue reading and staying in touch. And once we're able to, then I will be calling on our County Board Chairman Bartlett so that we can have a report in front of all of our county supervisors, but who knows when that'll happen. So without any further ado, to all of you, thank you. Great report. Thank you for all your hard work. And thank you for being innovative, because under these times, you've certainly proven what great educators you are. So again, from all of us, thank you. Moving on,
Thank you.
we will now hear from Stacy Wigfield, who is our interim executive director, as you know, of the Dunn County Economic Development Corporation. And Stacy's here right now, so I'm going to call on him.
Well, let me unmute first. There. Okay. Thanks for having me here today. I'm going to run down a list of some activities. I have to say that things around here have changed in this office with the departure of Cherie, that I think happened since this group met last. So my job's changed here a little bit. But I am able to also say that coincidentally, with the surge going on in the COVID, it seems as though economic development in general has slowed down, certainly since 1st of April, but even especially so in the last probably 4 to 6 weeks. I can tell phone calls are down and contacts are down a little bit, but we still have been real busy here. So I'll get into the report here. Keeping up with updates from the various regional economic development corporations and resending out grant and financing opportunities. That will never stop. There's plenty of money out there for aid and assistance to businesses. And part of our job, we've got a blast list. Some of you may get our information from us, as well as perhaps a Chamber of Commerce or some other sources, maybe directly from the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission or the Small Business Development Center. But best that everybody gets something 2 or 3 times and not at all. So if you're on our blast list and you're getting redundant things, that's why. One of the things I've been real busy with over the last 4 or 5 weeks is writing letters of support for various organizations and businesses. My favorite are the ones that go to the rural broadband internet service providers. The 3 that I've been writing for have been 24/7 Telecom, Bloomer Telephone, and Mosaic. 24/7, you've seen them going up and down Highway 25, and you've seen them all around Menominee, laying down fiber optic. They're going north and south of Menominee. They're going through the Weston and Irvington areas. They had some very specific areas that the letters of support were very specific to, which we know helps once they get to Madison. When the letters get to Madison, they can know exactly what that letter of support is for. Bloomer Telephone has been laying fiber optic for broadband in Dunn County, both north and south of Colfax. I think since we met last, Jim and I were able to be invited to an event that Bloomer Telephone sponsored and hosted up the other side of Colfax. And not only got to saw them actually laying the fiber, which is fascinating, but learned there too that once they were done with that and spidering out, that they were going to be going south out of Colfax all the way to Highway 29 and spidering out. And then the latest one was contact from Mosaic to lay fiber optic up in the northwestern part of the county, areas including the Connorsville area and Prairie Farm, all the way over east to getting close to the Sand Creek area. Lots of little townships in there. Again, very specific letters of support identifying the grants that they were asking for. Again, a great deal of money has been made available by the feds. They see this like they saw rural electric issues 100 and some years ago. They want broadband everywhere, and that's seriously being worked on, and I hope that continues. Who's ever going to be locally in charge of that across the county? We hope that certainly continues. Still continue to attend several meetings with the Dunn County Recovery Team associated with COVID recovery issues. You've seen some of those documents that are out there now, results of some of these meetings. I've attended several meetings with the Greater St. Croix Valley Partnership Group, and what's interesting with that is we've talked about some cooperative things, perhaps some partnerships with Pepin County Economic Development and Pierce County Economic Development, who are already working on things together. And then we've been approached by St. Croix County too, to talk about the future of Dunn County Economic Development Corp. And I'll get into that a little bit later. So there are some back talks, back stories going on, some behind the scenes work going on to keep countywide economic development happening in Dunn County for as long as we possibly can. Ellsworth, you've seen the Ellsworth Creamery moving dirt and putting down their infrastructure north of exit 45. You've seen the Brown Strauss Steel Firm is building and working on the rail spur for their area inside of the industrial park. Not everybody drives through there as much as economic development people do, I know, but it's really cool stuff to see going on. Those are all projects that were worked on in part through this office probably 3 years ago, at least, maybe more. They're coming to fruition now. There's a CBD processing plant being developed in Knapp. They're waiting for the equipment. Great business going into Knapp, creating jobs, as well as maple syrup production that's being increased in Knapp. Some business development and increase in jobs is great to hear in a little town like that. Other than just Menominee, what's happening outside in Dunn County. I've been working with the Chippewa County Economic Development Corp to put on a webinar with the state broadband director, who you might remember was going to speak at our annual meeting that never happened. We're still working on that, trying to get a date and a time and get people talking to each other. It's been a long process here getting that to happen. There was a Muskie Tank event held. If you've ever watched TV, you've seen Shark Tank. There's Muskie Tanks that are going on for entrepreneurs in this area. Partnering with the Menominee Chamber of Commerce to host and sponsor a webinar from Xcel Energy on future energy advantages for business, some incentives. There's another group that's working on other parts of that, and Xcel Energy is really moving along to flesh all of that information out. You'll see bits and pieces of that coming. Have been attending business chamber after hours and ribbon cuttings for specifically, most recently, the Stout Craft House and the housing complex by the UW Stout football field down there. That's an incredible residential complex there. Happened to meet with some other Economic Development Corp CEOs regarding possible benefits cooperative. Turns out that a lot of the CEOs might be part-time, might be partially retired, therefore may not be getting benefits from their employer, whoever that is. And so there may be a way to make an association or a cooperative to get people that sit in chairs like this some benefits that we wouldn't normally have access to. I was able to meet with the CEO of the local workforce development board, and I'm sure you know John Menz, real bright guy. We've been friends forever, as well as me and his dad. And John's just got some great ideas on some cooperative, creative ways to do things differently and keep things going. Was able to attend a soft opening for Woodwind Park under the guise of our rural tourism. That was last Saturday. Jim and I attended. Absolutely wonderful event. Looking for great things to come out of the old Deepwoods ski resort area, Deepwoods Ski and Golf. It's amazing what they're doing out there. If you get a chance, just stop out. John and Megan will love to have you come out there. They couldn't believe we came out and toured. Jim was at a couple months ago, and then we were able to get back there last Saturday. I've got their new business cards right in front of me here, and I'm going to make sure they think they already got some of the grant information that came out most recently for music venues, entertainment venues. It would be great if they could get their hands on some of that to help develop their business and create jobs and have a wonderful rural tourism destination here. Jim and I traveled. One of the things our plan always was, although we're not able to get inside businesses, we wanted to go to Chippewa Valley Bean. And Jim, you'll have to remind me of the Dunn County's largest dairy works out there. But at least we're able to travel around and talk to people. We made a couple different trips so far. One in the southwestern Dunn to O'Galley, Weston, Irvington, those kinds of places. Just last week, we traveled in the southeastern Dunn, way down to Rock Falls, Caryville, that area. Had lunch in a place out in the middle of nowhere that even I'd never heard of. It was very cool talking to people in there. I actually coincidentally ran into a guy that provides subcontract work for where I used to work at Reach for people with disabilities. And out in the middle of nowhere, you just never know who you're going to make contact with or where. I had lots of meetings with Dunn County EDC board members on the future of the Dunn County Economic Development Corp. I can tell you that day after tomorrow on Wednesday, there's a committee that has 3 candidates to be the new executive director starting on January 1st, perhaps slightly earlier. It depends on what the board chooses to do. And at the we'll know more after the meeting, the Dunn County Economic Development Board meeting next week. The plan is to keep the office alive. Well, not this office, because we're going virtual. We're getting out of the city municipal building. We're going virtual, save about $6,000 a year there. And the executive director, we think, looking and predicting and prognosticating about our reserves, might be able to carry on for, best guess, 12 to 14 months. That what will carry on for the next 12 to 14 months will be the Dunn County Economic Development Corporation. And after that, without funding, our future would certainly be uncertain. And next week at the Dunn County Economic Development Corp board meeting, we'll be deciding on whether or not to meet in person in December. As we looked over the summer and had to cancel our annual meeting, we'd hope that by the end of the year, we could have something that we could call sort of an annual meeting. And that meant getting together in person for the first time in a long time. With the resurgence, we don't know if that's going to happen. We're going to, Chair Anderson will poll his DC EDC board members next week and find out if we'll get together physically in December or not. Other than that, the same usual business things going on has been mentioned by Michelle out there in her world and everybody else in their world. Just carrying on. So that's what I have. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Stacy. I would add something besides going with Stacy to some of these areas to meet them. When we went down to the town of Peru and Rock Creek townships, I had never met Bob Bauer, the new supervisor from that district. Just like I really haven't met Ann Vogel, who's on this committee in person. Ann and I haven't met. So we've got new county board supervisors because of the way we have to operate. We haven't met. Well, anyway, I called Bob Bauer ahead of time and I said, we're coming into your supervisory district, Bob, and can you meet us? And he did. And that was very good because you all remember back down to that's the area where Cedar Creek, that large 7,500 dairy operation that produces milk pretty well for the Greenwood Butter Company out of Greenwood, Clark County. And they're operating good shape, and that was in their area. So I asked Bob if there's particular places down there that we ought to visit. Well, Stacy and I, that's what I've been trying to work with him, and he's done a great job of remembering that Dunn County economic development is for all areas of Dunn County. And thank you, Stacy, for a very thorough and good report. Any questions of Stacy before he probably signs off to go to his other meeting? Bob Colson, I am going to call on you for a broadband update or anything else for a while, but Stacy, if not, thank you. And the extent, yes,
Mr.
question,
Chair,
Bob.
Just before Stacy leaves, Stacy, Bob Colson, and
Bob.
you talked about that state broadband meeting that was scheduled and is on par maybe to happen at a later date. If I'm not on that list of participants, please add me to it so that I can attend, because I think it will be an important meeting. So.
Yep.
Absolutely, Bob. Thank you. Absolutely.
All right.
Larry, Jim?
Larry, Supervisor Bjork.
Yeah, my picture went away with the weather, but I just wanted to thank Stacy for his work. And I can't think of something that's probably as important and has had to do with less than Dunn County Economic Development. So I appreciate your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Bjork. Anybody else before Stacy cuts out and goes to another meeting? Thank you again, Stacy. We will we'll stay in touch. Moving ahead, right now we don't have much else to do. County Board Chairman, if our County Board Chairman Bartlett has any update for us on the meeting before tomorrow night on the budget, I would call on him right now. I did put in our agenda update of the 2021 Dunn County budget. I don't mean that we need to go to all the details, but if there is one item in the budget, Chairman Bartlett, that maybe they aren't aware of, and that was the amount of money that goes into external organizations. Would you care to update anybody here on anything on the budget for tomorrow night that this committee would be referred to or responsible for, Chairman Bartlett?
Well, if I remember right, we had $10,000 that we put in that's for economic development and could be used in any way that your committee feels that it should be used for. So could be economic development is a fairly broad term, so you could look at housing, you could look at broadband, you could look at doing what the city's going to do, or the other Greater Menominee economic development contract. I guess there's all sorts of and there was many ideas that came out of that executive committee had ideas on, but it's in your hands. So your committee will be working on that next year. But is that what you wanted me to mention?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Chairman Bartlett, because tomorrow night, the part that really affects this committee is what we call external organizations. And I'll just remind you that total amount of dollars is $77,950. You see that in the budget. $21,950 goes to the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning. $46,000 of that goes to Dunn County Housing. And then, as Chairman Bartlett said, $10,000 at an executive meeting was put back in the budget to our committee. I don't know what happened. Am I still on?
You're still there.
Yeah,
I don't see. Okay, my screen changed. My screen changed. But anyway, are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. $10,000 is now in that budget, and we will be talking about that as a committee after the first of the year. I don't anticipate, unless some of you bring something up or that there'll be business we have to take action on, we probably will not need a meeting in December. So you can be looking at that budget of that $10,000 as to how CR&T committee wants to use that money. As Chairman Bartlett said, it is proposed for economic development, but will not be in the budget for Economic Development Corporation. So thank you, Chairman Bartlett. I appreciate your input and your leadership on this, and for providing that funds your leadership on that.
I have another meeting, so I will be leaving this one shortly.
All right, and we're just about done, but I want to call on Bob Colson because he's always good enough to come here and update us on things. We had a little update on broadband. Anything else, Bob?
Well, not really, but I see that Stephanie has left the meeting, but it was nice to see Stephanie. She was part of the team that we had for broadband, and we haven't met because there really hasn't been much need to meet. And I guess I just wanted to let everyone know that her expertise and enthusiasm that you guys saw in the meeting was genuine, and she always brought all of that to our meetings. And so I'm hopeful that someday that we'll get back on some broadband stuff. But I just wanted to let your committee know, and Chairman Anderson and Supervisor Quinn both know that my situation right now in terms of staffing is pretty slim. And so broadband has not been something that I could do very much on, but I just wanted to personally speak to your committee to let them know that, what's happening, and that broadband right now, it's a very important topic, and it's a very important project statewide. And Stacy mentioned, the importance of broadband and that the feds are involved. But currently I don't have the staff to do much with broadband. And I just wanted to let your committee know that it's not for lack of interest or lack of enthusiasm. It's more just a lack of resources. And so I don't have much to report, but I am looking forward to that meeting with the state broadband people that Stacy had alluded to. So, but beyond that, Chairman Anderson, I really don't have much to report. And I would guess that maybe that you and I would have conversations before this is put on the agenda again to make sure that I have something to report, because I don't mind coming to the meetings, but it doesn't seem very beneficial for me to come to the meeting and say nothing new to report.
I realize how very, very busy you are, Bob, and you and I will be chatting about this. Because if it isn't necessary, right, you've got enough on your plate. I know I'm on the PR&D committee, which Supervisor Quinn chairs, and the work and everything that I have an insight as to how busy you are. Okay, folks, it's I have 5:40, and we do not have any action we have to take tonight. And so I felt that it was important, though, since we didn't meet in October, that we had a good update from everybody, and we got that here today. I mentioned that maybe on December 14th is our scheduled meeting. If I don't see any action that we need, or hear from any of you that you really need a meeting, I'll wait. But as of now, if we don't have any action, then I will probably cancel it, but still keep that date open. And then finally, announcements. I'm going to ask anybody for an announcement. I would remind everybody, and this is huge, 11/11 is Veterans Day, and that's coming up. And I will tell you quickly that I remember as a kid, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And that was a big day in United States history. And we celebrate it now as Veterans Day. And I hope that everybody will remember that particular day to thank a veteran and for their service and anything else. Announcements, Chairman Bartlett? Any announcements? Any announcements?
I have to leave.
Committee
That's
members.
all. I was just waving goodbye.
Thank you. Any announcements from any committee members? If not, I will say thank you again to Krista and to Michelle. Thank you very much. And stay safe and stay healthy. And I hope to meet us all in person in the future. Meeting is adjourned.